राघव गुरु विद्यावाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं पूर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं लक्ष्मीनाथ समारंभां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोर्रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये मातापिता योतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्मयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रिकुलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि. We saw about how the mantra was not shouted and also about a specific shloka from Pancharatra that said Gurum Prakashayet Dhiman Mantram Yatnena Gopayet Aprakasha Prakashabhyam Kshiyete Sampadayushi. We saw about these two in the previous lecture. Today, let us look at some concepts. We have discussed about Tattva, Hita and Purushartha earlier. The purpose of all the Upanishads, why do they really exist? Just Jnana Kanda in the Veda, what does it exist for? If we look into it, we would understand that the purpose of the Upanishads is to teach Tattva, Hita and Purushartha only. Okay, what is meant by Tattva? In Vishishtadvaitha, we say there are three types of Tattvas: Chit, Achit and Ishvara. There is another way to divide it, just Chetana and Achetana, where Achetana is the Achit category. Chit and Ishvara, that is Jivatma and Paramatma, they will come under the Chetana category. Now, Achetana, Deshika says, it is of three kinds: Prakriti, Kala, Shuddha Sattva. We will look into it now. In this way, there is further classification. What is Hita? Hita means that which is going to give you the welfare, that which is appropriate. So Hita, it is the way or ritual by which one can attain Bhagavan. Hita is also having a kind of classification. What classification? In Sanatana Dharma, there are different schools. Each school tells a different way to attain moksha. Whichever way is mentioned as the way to attain moksha, we call that as Hita. So in Advaita Vedanta, for example, they would say you perform Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. You do that. You keep contemplating on the Mahavakyas. At one point, you would have realized it. And when you realize it, that realized person gets moksha. Brahmavid apnoti param. This is their siddhanta. But in Vishishtadvaitha Vedanta, we saw there is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, but Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga should ultimately result in Bhakti Yoga. Then only you can get moksha. Should Bhakti Yoga lead to anything else to give moksha? Not necessary. Bhakti Yoga can give moksha. Then there is another called Prapatti, which we called as Sharanagati Marga. So, Prapatti can give moksha, Bhakti Yoga can give moksha. Many times in Vishishtadvaita, you would hear people saying the word Bhakti for Bhakti Yoga itself. Bhakti means devotion, right? Sneha Purva Manudhyanam, that is Bhakti. But many times you would see people referring to Bhakti Yoga itself as Bhakti. Why? What do you do in Bhakti Yoga? You keep doing Bhakti. Therefore, they say Bhakti. So you can say hitas are of two kinds. One is Bhakti, one is Prapatti. Purushartha. We say there are four Purusharthas, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But there is only one primary Purushartha. What is that? Moksha. Dharma, Artha and Kama are supposed to take us towards that moksha. We have seen this before. This slide is just a summary. But let us look a little more. We saw about types of achetana, correct? We said there is Prakriti, there is Kala, there is Shuddha Sattva. I am not sure whether we saw the manifestations of Prakriti. From Mula Prakriti, there is Mahat, then there is Ahankara, then from there, there is Satvika, Rajasa, Tamasa type. Depending on that, the further manifestations of Prakriti happen. So you get Karmendriyas, you get Jnanendriyas, you get Panchabhutas, you get Pancha Tanmatras, all of them. All of them fall under Prakriti. None of them has any Chetanatva. You should remember here that among the Indriyas, we sometimes say there are 5 Indriyas. Sometimes we say that there are 10 Indriyas, referring to Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas. Sometimes we say there are 11. When we say 11, we are referring to Manas. This Manas that is there, the mind, it is also not falling under Chetana. It is Achetana only. It is non-living. It is insentient. Mind is different from the Atma. Therefore, Atma is sentient. Mind is not sentient. Many people mistake the mind for a sentient being. That is incorrect. On this topic, for example, Yamunacharya, Alavandar, he has written in detail in Siddhitrayam. Yamunacharya was Bhagavad Ramanuja's Guru's Guru, right? He had written a work called Siddhitrayam. In that, there are 3 chapters, Atma Siddhi, Ishvara Siddhi, Samvit Siddhi. In the first chapter, called Atma Siddhi, he has discussed what is Atma. What do various people say? How do people describe the Atma? Which one can be taken? Which one should be ignored? And why it should be ignored? All of that is there in Siddhitraya, in Atma Siddhi part of it. Now, that is about Manas. Then we saw about Kala as well in our previous classes. Kala is what? Time. Past tense, present tense, like past, present, future. That is the division of time, correct? That shouldn't be a big deal. It is easy to find out about time. How do we know about time? We cannot see time, but we can experience it. We can distinguish the past from the present. So even though our eyes cannot see time, we do feel it. And we don't really need logical reasoning to establish the existence of time. It is pretty obvious to us. Then there is Shuddha Sattva, which is pure Sattva. We said Prakriti has Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, all the 3. But Shuddha Sattva means only Sattva. Where do you find this? You find this in Bhagavan, you find this in Nityas, you find this in Muktas. You find it in Divya Deshas. You find it in Bhagavad Vigrahas. It appears to be normal, right? The Vigraha of Bhagavan in a temple, it may appear to be normal, but it is of Shuddha Sattva nature. That is why we are able to get the benefits of praying to it. Bhagavad Ramanuja said, the Vigraha in the temple is non-different from Bhagavan. Bhagavan and his Vigraha in the temple are one and the same. There is no difference. It is not a symbol. It is not a symbol. It is not a representation. It is not something that has been made so that we are able to do everything. To some extent, we could say, so that we are able to visualize him, Bhagavan himself manifested in the form of Vigrahas. That is how we should take it. How can you say he manifested? Somebody carves the Vigraha. There's a sculptor. Yes, all of that is there. But Bhagavan is already everywhere. Bhagavan who is everywhere, specifically, when you say he enters this Vigraha, it means he becomes active in this Vigraha, behaving the way he would behave if he were to appear right in front of us. That is the beauty of the Shuddha Sattva Vigraha. Now, some people say there is a fourth kind of achetana. What is this fourth type? They refer to Dharma Bhuta Jnana. On Jnana, there was a class that we discussed. There are two types of Jnana. Dharma Bhuta Jnana and Dharmi Jnana. Dharmic Jnana is the knowledge of existence of the self. It is naturally there for living things. Dharma Bhuta Jnana is knowledge of everything else. Any other knowledge is going to fall under Dharma Bhuta Jnana. That has to be understood by us. Now, Achetana does not have Dharma Bhuta Jnana. When you say there is Prakriti, does Prakriti have Dharma Bhuta Jnana? No. Does Kala have Dharma Bhuta Jnana? No. Does Shuddha Sattva have Dharma Bhuta Jnana? No. Who has Dharma Bhuta Jnana? Chetana has Dharma Bhuta Jnana. A Jivatma or Paramatma, they would have Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Correct? Achetana cannot possess Jnana. Jnana is there only with Chetana. Jnana is always possessed only by Chetana. Now, we have seen the nature of Achetana, right? About Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Sattva is always associated with good things, good knowledge, happiness, that kind of a thing. Rajas, it creates misunderstandings. It drives you to perform actions. It is not the worst, but it is also not the best. It is, as it is not the best, we say you should avoid it. Tamas is something that creates idleness, sleep, or maybe immobility, or even evil. Those things. So, these are the ways in which Prakriti is going to affect us. When it comes to Dharma Bhuta Jnana, in Vishishtadvaitha, we acknowledge Dharma Bhuta Jnana also as a Dravya. What is Dravya? Dravya means entity. So, like Prakriti or Kala, even Dharma Bhuta Jnana has different types of manifestations. What are these? Perception. It is a type of Dharma Bhuta Jnana. I see something, I see the screen, I see some symbol, I understand some word from it. What am I doing? I am perceiving. That is Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Inference. Through this, I infer. There is no full sentence in the slide. I am inferring that. Doubts that you get, that is also Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Remembering something from the past. Oh, I remember learning this in some previous class. Why is it being repeated now? That is also Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Of course, we are expanding what had been learned in the previous classes. Types of Dharma Bhuta Jnana had not been discussed earlier. We are slowly going more technical. So, remembering the past is a type of Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Wishing for something, Dharma Bhuta Jnana. So, there are several types of Dharma Bhuta Jnana. That should be kept in mind. Now, among these Achetanas, Prakriti and Kala, they are directly called as Jada. What is Jada? Jada, it is something that shines by knowledge. Without knowledge, it will not shine. What does that mean? Shining is not the physical shining. It means knowledge of its existence, right? Only when somebody has knowledge of its existence, it would have any kind of impact. Is that so? I don't have knowledge of the cloud that is above me. But when it starts raining, even though I don't have knowledge, suddenly there is an impact. Is that not so? Yes, there is an impact. But when there is an impact, I am perceiving the rain. I am perceiving the water. I get knowledge of getting drenched in the rain. Correct? So without another party getting some knowledge, these would not function. They may be functioning, but if you don't have the knowledge, it is as good as being non-functional. This is somewhat similar to what Schrodinger said. Schrodinger made an experiment with a live cat and a dead cat. Do you know? He kept a cat inside the box and he said, you will never know whether the cat is alive or not until you open the box. Something like that. Why? Because maybe it is alive, maybe it is dead. We are saying for the cat. Likewise, maybe the cloud has moved away. Maybe it is still here on top of my head. But until and unless I get the knowledge about it, I would not be able to say anything about it. Correct? So, to say or feel or comment anything about anything that is Prakriti in nature, we need knowledge. It depends on knowledge. Time also depends on knowledge. I perceive time, correct? I look at a clock or a watch or the mobile phone. I see the time. That number, it says something. It conveys something. The time, if it says it is past 7:30 p.m., I understand that more than 30 minutes have gone, where minute is a specific measure of time since 7 p.m. That knowledge, without that knowledge, Kala also would not function. So, Prakriti and Kala, they will shine only by knowledge. Without knowledge, they will not shine. But isn't this the nature of everything that is Achetana? No. There is another type. This type is called Swayam Prakasha. Swayam Prakasha means that which can shine by its own. It does not depend on knowledge for shining. One is Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva can operate even without anybody having any knowledge about it. Until I tell that this Vigraha is Shuddha Sattva, or until the scripture says it is Shuddha Sattva, nobody is ever going to know that the temple Vigraha is Shuddha Sattva. Yet, it is going to behave as Shuddha Sattva. It is going to impact us. Even when it impacts us, we may not realize that it is Shuddha Sattva, but it will still work. There it differs from the way the cloud behaved. So, Shuddha Sattva is Swayam Prakasha. Likewise, Dharma Bhuta Jnana, the fourth Achetana, that is also Swayam Prakasha. Why? Very simple. Dharma Bhuta Jnana itself is Jnana. It shines only by knowledge, we said, right? But this itself is knowledge. So knowledge shines by itself. As knowledge will shine by itself, Dharma Bhuta Jnana shines by itself. Not just that. What did we say? We said Prakriti and Kala shine only by knowledge. What knowledge is that? That knowledge is Dharma Bhuta Jnana. So Dharma Bhuta Jnana, it shows the presence of itself. And it also shows the presence of other things. We call it Swayam Prakasha because it is shining by itself. But what does it shine light on? Not just itself, but also on Prakriti and Kala. So it is Dharma Bhuta Jnana that Prakriti and Kala are dependent on. Whereas Dharma Bhuta Jnana is dependent on itself. It is not dependent on any other achetana. Of course, it depends on chetana, correct? If there is jnana, who has the jnana? Some person would have the jnana. Well, who is that person? Atma. It should be a chetana. So it depends on chetana, yes. But while Prakriti and Kala depend on Dharma Bhuta Jnana, Dharma Bhuta Jnana does not depend on Prakriti and Kala. Does Dharma Bhuta Jnana depend on Shuddha Sattva? Well, it does not depend, but there is an implication. Where there is Shuddha Sattva, there is Paripurna Jnana. It will not be limited, constrained Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Where there is Shuddha Sattva, where is there Shuddha Sattva? In Vaikuntha, there is Shuddha Sattva. What is there in Vaikuntha? Bhagavan is there in Vaikuntha. Muktas are there in Vaikuntha. Nityas are there in Vaikuntha. There, all of them have infinite knowledge. So, Dharma Bhuta Jnana, wherever there is Shuddha Sattva, the Atma that is having that Shuddha Sattva will have completely blossomed, completely expanded Dharma Bhuta Jnana. So there is some relationship between Shuddha Sattva and Dharma Bhuta Jnana. Where it is Mishra Sattva, that is Prakriti, Dharma Bhuta Jnana will not be infinite. But you cannot automatically predict the amount. How much jnana does this person have? He is a human being. He is a student in a college. He is studying in engineering or medical. If you have these information, would you be able to immediately say exactly how much knowledge the person has? No, it would be impossible. But when you say he is a mukta, you instantly know he has infinite knowledge. When you say he is a nitya, you know he has infinite knowledge. When you say he is Bhagavan, you know he has infinite knowledge. So, Shuddha Sattva and Dharma Bhuta Jnana, they are related to each other. And they are much more related to each other than Prakriti and Dharma Bhuta Jnana, in terms of what we infer from the information. Now, let us move on to Chetanas. We had seen that Chetanas are of two types. One is Jiva, one is Paramatma. Jivatma, we saw about the classification of them as well. Correct? We said there is Baddha, there is Nitya, and there is Mukta. Baddha is the one who is bound to samsara, who is bound by karma, who is bound by rebirth, reincarnation, whatever you call it. Mukta is one who was bound at some point of time but achieved moksha by the grace of Bhagavan. Nitya is a person who was never a Baddha. He has always been in the state of Mukti. Therefore, he is called a Nitya Mukta. About the properties of Paramatma, we have seen some properties, right? Swarupa Nirupaka Dharmas, we have seen Satyatva, Jnanatva, Anandatva, Amalatva, Anantatva. We have seen all of that. Shriyapatitva. We have seen all of that. But here, let us look at something specific. Let us try to understand first that Chetanas are of two types. One is Jiva, one is Paramatma, correct? Now, both of these, they are called Pratyak. Why? Because their presence is known for their own benefit. What is the fruit of any knowledge that you get? Who is going to get the fruit of knowledge? Atma is only going to get. Anatma, which is Achetana, will never get the fruit of any knowledge. So, for example, I look at a pot. I, who is the I? Not the body. It is the Atma. So, Atma is shining by itself. and that too for its own benefit. Knowledge about the pot exists only for the use of Atma. Knowledge about the pot cannot be used by any kind of achetana. Only Chetana can use the knowledge. Correct? So, the knowledge shines by itself. We have said Dharma Bhuta Jnana is Swayam Prakasha. The pot shines to the Atma. Does the pot shine to itself? No. Pot cannot learn about anything. It doesn't even know the existence of itself. By itself, that also is simple. When I say shine, it is not about giving light. It is about giving information about it. How do you get information about the pot? You, that is the Chetana, the Jivatma, have entered a usable body. By using your body, a particular indriya of that body called Chakshu, it is looking. It sees something visual. That visual image is then processed by the brain, by your mind. It says, this visual describes what we have learned to be a pot. So that there is a pot. Ghatam aham ja. So, the pot, it shines to the Atma. It does not shine to itself, and it does not shine by itself. It shines only with the help of knowledge. So, like Dharma Bhuta Jnana, Atma is also Swayam Prakasha. We said Shuddha Sattva is Swayam Prakasha. We said Dharma Bhuta Jnana is Swayam Prakasha. Now we are saying Atma is Swayam Prakasha. Which are Jivatma, Paramatma, both. So, we should understand this. Now, Paramatma. Paramatma has certain properties. What properties does he have? Paramatma is eternal. Jivatma is also eternal. What is the big deal? Jivatma is karma vashya. It is bound by karma. Paramatma is not. Paramatma always has all knowledge. He is the ultimate cause of the universe. He is the master universe. He is the only refuge for everybody. He has no bad quality. He has every auspicious finite magnitude. He is the only person who enjoys the fruit of all rituals done by the Chetanas. Because he always enjoys. So there are lots of things about him, but they are very obvious. We are not going to go there. Specifically, we are going to look at a few things. One is Purnatva. Purnatva means completeness. Complete. Purnatva means the proper being complete. That is completeness. What Purnatva mean in the context of Bhagavan? It means even a limited portion of his presence has the capacity for a complete control of all in all places and at all times. Deshika talks about this in Rahasya Trayasara. This is one of the implications of Purnatva. He is complete. His nature is the same, no matter where you see it, how you see it, and all of that. There is another type of Purnatva that some people talk about. Some Bhagavan, who is whole, the entirety, even in a small thing. But this is not really Purnatva. This is not Deshika has himself said that we cannot accept this view. He has mentioned it in Nyaya Siddhanta. But this Purnatva, how is it even possible for an entity to end in one thing, exist in other things? Explain Purnatva that way, right? How do they explain it? They say he has Aghatita Ganana Samarthya. He has Adbhuta Shakti. He can do things that are otherwise not logically explainable. Has special powers, therefore he can do anything. What they say. But we Purnatva says he is everywhere. He is not existing in one thing alone. He is existing in everything. Antar Bahishya Tat Sarvam. He has complete control over everything. So he is full in all. Therefore, he is Purna. Where is the other Purnatva definition used? Who uses it? For example, Jainas use it. In Jainism, they say that the whole that ends even in a small thing can be called Purna. We don't. We ask, why should he ever end anywhere? Then there is Swarupa, his fundamental nature. He is omnipresent, he is omnipotent, all of that. He has no form but can take any form he likes. He is the form of the entire multiverse. His forms are not understandable by us. Everything is his Sharira. Rupa, the form that he takes. He has a para, vyuha, vibhava, antaryami, which is sometimes called Harda. Harda means that which is inside the Hridaya. Who is the Paramatma inside our heart? He is called the Antaryami. Then there is Archa. About this we have already seen before. So we will move on. Now let us look at karma. Karma is of two types. Prarabdha karma, Sanchita karma. You may see some people dividing it into three. They would say there is something called Kriyamana karma. What is the difference between these three? We have seen before. I will explain in one or two sentences and then we will do. We have done lots of karma before. Out of all that karma, for some amount of karma, we have already got the phala. But there is some amount for which we have not yet got the phala. Out of all the karma for which phala has not been obtained, a random portion is selected for a particular period of time. Maybe one life, maybe a few lives. For much amount of time, all the phala that you would be experiencing would be from this randomly selected portion. This randomly selected karma is called prarabdha karma. It has started giving results. When I was born itself, it started giving results. It is still giving results to me now and it will give results to me 30 years later. Suppose I don't get moksha. After 3000 lives, will the same prarabdha karma give me? No. Why? What happens to prarabdha karma? I am getting the phala of the karma, right? I am experiencing happiness or sadness, comfort or pain, whatever, pleasure or pain. Something is being experienced by me. As this prarabdha karma gets burned, some new karma is also performed by us. That is what these people call kriyamana karma. We don't have to think much about it because kriyamana karma will again get added to sanchita, and sanchita plus the new, whatever is kriyamana now From that total, another random portion will be taken. That random portion will be the prarabdha karma. The remaining portion will remain sanchita karma. So sanchita karma is that past karma for which the results have not come and are not going to come in the near future. Prarabdha karma is that past karma for which that set of past karma for which the results have started coming to us. Hence the word prarabdha. Now this prarabdha karma, which means it has started to give the fruit, it is of two types. One is abhyupagata, another is anabhyupagata. Abhyupagata prarabdha karma means it is accepted. The jiva has accepted to experience this prarabdha karma. Can there ever be acceptance? Did I ever agree to accept this? I did not want to suffer this way. I would have accepted the prarabdha karma if it had made me a karodpati. It would have made me a billionaire. I would have been happy. It has not made me a billionaire. I don't have money. I don't have health. I don't have wealth. I don't have servants. I don't have a palace. I don't have a car. What do I do? Have I accepted this karma? A person might ask. Who can accept or reject karma? Let us say I don't accept. Will my future change? Here is what we should understand. We should understand that abhyupagata karma is applicable to the prapanna, a person who performs prapatti. That person has the right, if he is a pure prapanna, he has the right to ask for the time of moksha. Hey Bhagavan, I want moksha right away. He will ask. Bhagavan will give moksha right away. One person will say, give me moksha tomorrow. Bhagavan will give him moksha the very next day. What do? We don't consider ourselves to be such great saints, to be capable of demanding the time of moksha also from Bhagavan. What do? We say, please give us moksha at the end of this life. And Bhagavan gives that also when we perform prapatti formally. So, a prapanna accepts to live. What am I saying? Etad dehavasane. At the end of this life, at the end of this body, when my Atma departs from this body, let it not go by Dhuma Marga. Let it not go to Naraka that I deserve for committing countless sins. Let it not go to Swarga also. Let it follow Archiradi Marga and come to Vaikuntha. But that is at the end of this life. What does that mean? Until the end of this life, I have to experience the prarabdha karma. Therefore, that karma that I have agreed to experience until the end of this life. Of course, after the end of this life, if I am going to moksha, there is no karma after that. But until that time, there is some karma, right, that I have agreed to experience. And that karma is abhyupagata prarabdha karma. Okay. What about the other type, anabhyupagata karma? Well, it is that karma which is rejected. Can I reject karma? Again, an ordinary person cannot reject karma. But the prapanna rejects karma. Prapanna rejects all the karma that is meant to be coming in the future births by saying, give me moksha at the end of this life. All the future lives are cancelled. Therefore, therefore, all the future lives are cancelled, and therefore all the future lives karma is also cancelled. That the karma that is meant for future lives is rejected, and therefore it is called anabhyupagata karma. Then there is sanchita karma, that past karma for which we are not supposed to get the result anywhere in the near future. It is meant for the distant future. that Sanchita karma automatically gets dissolved when we perform prapatti. We have seen that as well. So you could, the acharyas when explaining, they say, think about Sanchita karma like a tender mango. As it is summer season, think about a mango that is quite tender. Think about anabhyupagata prarabdha karma as a fully grown mango, but it is not fully ripe. One is a tender mango, one is fully grown, but it is not ripe. It is raw mango. And think of abhyupagata prarabdha karma to be completely ripe mango, which is ready to eat. So for the prapanna, what will the prapanna eat? He will eat the ripe mango. That is abhyupagata prarabdha karma. What about anabhyupagata? He says it is not ripe yet. I don't want it. What about sanchita? Forget being raw mango. This is too tender. It has not even grown fully. How can I eat it? I don't want it. So, in that way, sanchita karma is not experienced by the prapanna. Anabhyupagata. I think there is a spelling mistake in the slide. Anabhyupagata. After H, there should be a Y. Anabhyupagata prarabdha karma is also rejected. Only the ripe mango is eaten because it is tasty. That fully ripe mango is abhyupagata prarabdha karma. I will take this, I will buy this ripe mango. In that way. Let us look at a few more things. Let us look at the limitations of Bhakti Yoga. There was a class in which we discussed the differences between Bhakti and Prapatti. Here, we are looking at the limitations of Bhakti Yoga. Bhagavan Krishna says, Mamhi partha vyapashritya, yepi syuh papayonayah, striyo vaishyas tatha shudraha, tepi yanti parangatim. Everybody gets moksha, O Arjuna. Be it women, be it Vaishyas, be it Shudras, all of them get. Varna doesn't matter. Even Chandalas have got moksha as per Siddhanta. Even animals and birds can get. But if you want to get moksha by Bhakti Yoga, then the janma in which you start Bhakti Yoga, there is some janma, right, in which we start Bhakti Yoga. In that particular janma, you should be or you should have been a Dvija. A person who has never done Bhakti Yoga in any of his previous lives. In this life, if he wants to do Bhakti Yoga, he should be a Dvija. What does Dvija mean? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. The other births don't matter. Now, suppose I start doing Bhakti Yoga in this life. I am a Dvija. But I don't get moksha at the end of this life. I am reborn. Maybe I am reborn as a crow. I am reborn as a lion. I am reborn as a plant. Or I am reborn as a human or an asura. Doesn't matter. I am reborn as a Chandala. Doesn't matter. The life in which you start doing Bhakti Yoga for the first time, that has to be Dvija. Now, do I know whether I started Bhakti Yoga as a Dvija in my previous life or not? My immediately previous life itself is not known to me. Would I be able to travel back in time and find everything? No. It is not practical. It is not possible. Yet, if I do not initiate Bhakti Yoga as a Dvija, I will not be able to proceed in that path. So, if I am an Advija today, Bhakti Yoga will not be given as a procedure for me because it will not work. Isn't it a big problem? You are saying this is a path to Bhagavan and then you're saying it will not work. No, no, don't worry. Even for Dvijas, it is very difficult to work. You have to practice Bhakti Yoga non-stop. Non-stop. Taila dhara divat, we have discussed before. If you don't do non-stop, you will lose it. You should have non-stop vision of Bhagavan. And that vision of Bhagavan, that Bhagavad Sakshatkara, that should begin in your first janma. That the first janma meaning the janma in which you started Bhakti Yoga. In that janma itself, if you had started getting the vision, it will continue. And it should continue. If you fail, then you have to do prayashchitta. After doing prayashchitta, you will be able to return to your previous level. You can again start experiencing Bhagavan. But then you should still continue. Again, there is a chance of chopping. Again, you will have to do prayashchitta. So technically, the time taken for moksha would be very less, would be a great lot also. This bhakti, it is of several types. Bhakti as in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is of several types. But in all of the types, both the Jivatma and Paramatma, they are meditated upon. You could classify Bhakti Yoga itself into two types broadly. One is where I meditate upon my own Jivatma, but as the Sharira of Paramatma. The other is where I meditate on Paramatma as the Antaryami, as the Shariri. We say that although both types are mentioned in the Vedas, both types are mentioned in the Vedas. The first type, meditating on my own Jivatma as Bhagavad Sharira, Bhagavad Dasa, Bhagavad Shesha. This kind is also mentioned in the Vedas. They say it is mentioned in Panchagni Vidya in Chandogya Upanishad. For the Upasaka who performs this kind of Vidya, most of the karma will be wiped out. Some karma will still remain. This little karma, due to its existence, that person will attain Kaivalya. We have discussed Kaivalya in the past. We have said that Kaivalya is a sthiti that the person gets. We said there is Abhipraya Bheda. Some people take Kaivalya to be Nitya in Vaikuntha. Some other people do not. My school does not. So what does my school say? It says this little karma that is still not wiped out yet, what will it do? It will first give Atmanubhava. After having Atmanubhava, that Atma will ascend towards moksha. Svatmanubhava will first be there. That Atma will get Kaivalya. But Krishna says the person who gets Kaivalya, he will not fall down. He will not get Ajnana again. He will either continue in Kaivalya or he will get Bhagavat Prapti. That is moksha. So, the Kaivalyarthi, he enjoys his own Atma. After that, that remaining tiny portion of karma also gets wiped out and he gets Bhagavat Prapti, which is moksha. He attains Bhagavan in Paramapada. The second type is where you are meditating on Paramatma only. He is the Antaryami. He is here. He is everywhere. You see him everywhere. Think of only him. Don't think of yourself. This is mentioned in many Brahma Vidyas. Sadvidya, Dahara Vidya, Madhu Vidya, Chandogya Upanishad itself. Now, Madhu Vidya says, you perform this. This is great. You will get moksha. But when you are going towards moksha, for some time you will be living in some other loka. You will be living in the loka of the Vasus. You will enjoy some happiness there. After that, you will go and attain moksha. Sadvidya does not take you to any loka where it gives you some happiness and then gives moksha. It directly takes you towards moksha. So, in this type of bhakti yoga, where meditation is on Paramatma, some types of bhakti yoga, they will first give you happiness, then they will give you moksha. Some others, they will directly give you moksha. No loka in between. So, then comes the types of prapatti. Prapatti could be done for oneself. That is what we discussed before. Correct? How do you do for yourself? Swanishtha, Uktinishtha, Acharya Nishtha, Bhagavata Nishtha. How you can get prapatti done? We said Swanishtha is where you yourself are competent enough. Uktinishtha and Acharya Nishtha are where you get it from an Acharya. That is what we have mentioned here as for Shishyas. Acharya performs it for Shishya. So, in the previous, whichever class it was, when we discussed about the types of prapatti, we discussed about 4 types: Swanishta, Uktinishta, Acharya Nishta, Bhagavata Nishta. That is on the basis of attaining. This is on the basis of providing. So I could provide prapatti for myself if I am qualified enough. I could provide prapatti for my shishyas. I could perform it for my shishyas if I am an acharya and I am qualified enough. Or even if they are not shishyas, I could still do it. Bhagavata Nishtha is like that, correct? If I am a Bhagavata, I can still perform it for others. That other person, should that person be a very knowledgeable one? Or is it okay if that person is ignorant? We say both are fine. We say both are fine. The knowledgeable person getting moksha is great. The person who is not so knowledgeable, a person who is a little ignorant, that person is also okay. Youngster, there is a very young boy. He is very good, but he may not live long. He has cancer. There is a person who is blind, deaf, and dumb. There are people who are completely illiterate, or there is an animal, or there is a bird. The Bhagavata, by taking pity on these kinds of living beings, can perform prapatti for them also. So, prapatti could be done for the ignorant people also by the Bhagavata. For the Shishya, even if the Shishya is not fully knowledgeable, the Acharya can perform prapatti. In this way, because last time we saw a classification based on how you get. Now we are seeing based on how it is given. So it could be given for the self, it could be given for Shishyas, it could be given for others as well. Well, he is a very knowledgeable person. He is not my Shishya, and he is obviously not me. But he deserves moksha. If I am a Bhagavata and I have the capacity to do it, then I could very well go and perform prapatti for that person. He is not very knowledgeable, but he is a very good guy. Or he is not knowledgeable, but he is not even living a life that could ever help him. He is blind, deaf, and dumb. He is suffering too much. Bear the suffering that he is undergoing. What do? I go and perform prapatti for him. I pray to Bhagavan to accept him as well. So those things can be done by the qualified Bhagavatas and Acharyas. So we have covered a number of small topics today, adding further detail to whatever had been learned earlier. If there is any question based on whatever was discussed in today's class, please feel free to let me know.
No, there's no question. It was very clear. Only point is we don't know where we are in the, with respect to birth and karma and all that. So we should make use of the opportunities available to us. Am I correct?
Exactly. We do not know. I do not know whether I started performing Bhakti Yoga in some previous life. Even if I started, I know for a fact that I have fallen because I don't have continuous vision of Bhagavan. Therefore, the smarter way would be rather than starting Bhakti Yoga, which anyway does not have a guarantee of giving quick moksha or even being performed without any problem, I should seek Bhagavan through Prapatti. If I'm qualified enough, I could give it to myself. I'm not qualified enough. What do? I go to an Acharya and get it performed. That is the path prescribed by the Acharyas of Vishishtadvaitha Vedanta.
Clear. Thanks.
Okay, if there's no other question, we will conclude our class here. Shri Upsavam Shaklashodadi Kaustubhasya Shri Vasaraghava Gurostanayam Tatasya Vidya Vapya Vibhuttamatan Budhanam Kurve Sadahardigulam Karunakara. Asmatraihi Acharya Purogamaihi Sarvaishra Purvairacharya Satkrutaya Astu Mandala.